your questions. Lots of questions, as always. Let's see. Miss Nerf Herder, Mrs. Nerf Herder, excuse me, says Leigh Brackett, the co-writer of Empire Strikes Back, wrote in 1949 the book Stark and the Star Kings. She mentioned in the book the concept of the Force. Do you know if this book influenced George Lucas with Star Wars? I don't know. Actually, you don't say Star Wars, you say Stat Wars. I hate people who are typo. What's it called? English grammar police or whatever. I mistype things all the time. But no, I did not hear of that book before. And I know, oh, by the way, I know I'm having it today. And I said on the video yesterday, Thursday, here's the story real quick. I found out that the missus is she's doing a show and it actually starts tomorrow. And I told her I'd see it and I didn't think about it being on a Thursday. My week is all screwed up, man. I literally have to keep reminding myself it's a Wednesday. It feels like a Monday or a Tuesday again. It's so weird. My work week's been crazy, crazy, crazy. Let's see. Jenna Acolyte, do you think that there should have been more material on lesser known Star Wars characters like, get this, Trenix from the New Droid Army or Severance Dan from the Galactic Battlegrounds? You are the king of randomness. But I love it. Yes, as always. I think there should be. I think there should have been. That's the thing with the expanded universe. There are so many great characters that they could have told stories about too. I mean, it was just limitless. Anyway, do you think Nim and Vanna Sage of the Loke Revenants found Reti? And by the way, if I'm mispronouncing these, tough. For the longest, anyway, let me finish this conversation. After the ending of Star Wars Jedi Starfighter, you know what? I'm not familiar with the video games. That's my weak spot. I'm not familiar with video games at all. I didn't play that many. I love Super Star Wars, Super Empire Strikes Back, and Super Return of the Jedi for the Super Nintendo. I thought those games were awesome. For N64, loved Rogue Squadron. That's probably my favorite Star Wars game. I had Knights of the Terrace Key, a fighting game for my PlayStation. And after that, I didn't like anything else. I mean, I played Rogue Squadron 2, didn't like that. I never played the computer games. I wasn't that big of a computer gamer at the time. So Star Wars games, video games, not very knowledgeable about it. But yeah, why not? Go ahead and give you a yes there. Now, where was I going before this? Oh, yeah, we mispronounce things all the time. For the longest, folks, I used to call, what is his name? From the Zon trilogy. Oh, my goodness, I can't remember his name now. Oh, Talon Card or Talon Card. I called him Karad for the longest because I could have sworn there was an A there, and there wasn't. And I don't know when I found this out. It was way later. I mean, it was way later in the books that I found it was pronounced Card because maybe I heard someone else talk about him years later. Because, see, I mean, there are a few others. My brother read him for a bit. But when I said Talon Karad, he knew what I was talking about. He may have called him that too. But isn't that funny how we think we see ways to pronounce their names, and that's not even close. I mean, I understand why some people would go, no, Matt, it's Talon or Talon or Talon or whatever. And that's fine. But Karad, where did I get that A coming from? Yeah. Anyway, so let's see. Jedi, answer that one. David, how do I feel about the same companies well, I guess the Disney Fox deal? I mean, the rich get richer, right? Marvel fans are happy now. All the Marvel movies can tie in together, so that'd be good for them. I mean, I don't care either way. Bardane says, Matt, what about another time travel video for these forgotten BBY stories? And you name 2 stories that I haven't gotten to yet because it's not their time yet. Chris actually, oh, you responded. Chris actually responded to this. You haven't seen A Crumb for Hire because, and I'll have to check with, you know, I actually talk to Mr. Wenham every once in a while, and I don't think that's up yet. I mean, it's coming up. It's definitely coming up, but I haven't done that one. I kept that one off for sure. Constant Spirit hasn't come out yet. Now, because it's closer to Razor's Edge, which happens, well, actually, it's getting close. Actually, Razor's Edge is and everything. So maybe by, what, in the next month or so? I always said I'd get done with the Rebellion in August, the Rebellion era in August, you know, that Star Wars Empire. Nah, it's going to be September, maybe October. No rush, right? Those stories are coming up. Like tomorrow, I'm reviewing a story by, I don't know, someone said, Matt, you missed this. And I was like, no, I didn't. It just hasn't popped up yet. Remember, my timeline is just a little bit different from everyone else's. And it's not that I've argued about this. I have debated, actually not debated. I shouldn't say debated. I've talked to a few other people with their timelines about, do you think this goes here? Do you think that goes there? Actually, Joe Bongiorno, whose name I drop all the time because he's such an awesome guy. I've actually helped him once or twice, not much. When I'm looking through his timeline, I'm going, I think this belongs here. Shouldn't this belong here? He's like, sure, yeah. He's really cool about switching things up. Most people are like, no, I can't remember why I put it there, but it's there for a purpose. And I was like, well, okay. I mean, it's fine. You know, no one's timeline is going to be perfect. Remember, it's as best I know how. All right, Dark Novia. Gosh, dog, man. I'm glad I got your questions here. Here we go. I have a question regarding the Clone Star Wars timeline. Do you know the source that has the pre-Clone Wars timeline for Clone Wars? Because it makes no sense to me that timeline, because it makes no sense. Every timeline that I've ever found just confuses the heck out of me. I'm currently at Clone Wars in terms of my reading and future reviews, anything that would help to make sure I survive the Clone Wars era with my sanity intact. Without the Clone Wars, I mean, without the TV show, I mean, honestly, Dark Novia, not to pat myself on the back, but I mean, besides comic books that tie in and children's books that tie into the Clone Wars, which if you want to avoid all that, I don't know why. I think some of us were pretty good, but you could just watch my videos. Now, where it's all in writing, I would love that. I actually talked to Chris about this for the expandeduniverse.com, and eventually we'll hammer out a timeline. What my idea for the timeline is to put all the books, comics, and short stories, and then put them with pictures. I want pictures of the comic book or short story and a hyperlink. How cool would this be? A hyperlink to Wikipedia. That'd be really awesome, right? That'd be a massive, awesome timeline because A, you get to see the cover and say, "Ooh, that looks interesting. What's this about?" And then B, you could, you know, just hyperlink to Wikipedia instead of having to go to Wikipedia and type it in. So anyway, that's my idea. Oh no, what happened? Okay, hold on. I'm putting these on my phone because they're easy to scroll through. But all right, let's see. Your second one, another Clone Wars era. I have is at what point of the timeline do you think the Clone Wars fits better, at the beginning of the war or at the end of the war? If you're talking about Filoni's TV show, brother, it kind of zips in and out. If you're gonna watch, let's think about this for a while. If you were to watch, actually, I'd read everything before watching it because watching things seem easier for me. It seems like more fun, especially Tartakovsky's series. But you could, I mean, to read and watch in between would be very meticulous. I'm sure someone's done it. Someone's bothered to put that online, but ugh, I would not want to be the person to do that. I would say just read it all and then watch it. Maybe you want to watch Filoni's Clone Wars first. That way you won't. That way it's all up from heel, all uphill from here, I should say. And by the way, Filoni's Clone Wars is 50% awesome. I should mention that too. I keep forgetting to mention that because when it focused on just the clones, you know, it seemed to do a lot better than when it focused on anything else just about. And then Tartakovsky's Clone Wars was just fantastic. Isn't it great that Jenny Tartakovsky is still directing movies? Yeah. Who loved Hotel Transylvania 3? I don't know why I flinched there. All right, and then the third question by Dark Novia, do you feel like what's been going on with Disney Star Wars lately has become too political on both sides? I'm glad you said both sides. Yeah, I say yeah. I'm glad you said both sides. I think we want to. There obviously is a message by Disney Star Wars. I don't care what you say. Some people commented on one of my videos saying, "Well, I don't really see an agenda by Disney." It's not by Disney, folks. We should stop saying Disney. The new Lucasfilm, because if you look at it, I think Bruce and I talked about this on a podcast once. That no, we talked about during The Last Jedi on Trial, how it seemed overly politicized. You know, there's obvious agendas, and this one and 7, and I don't know about Rogue One. We didn't talk about Rogue One, but we talked about the movies, how there is an agenda that you don't see in other Disney-owned properties, and I would like to blame Lucasfilm for that. You know, that's just me. Anyway, Dark Novia, great questions as always. In Blackest Night, last Q&A, you touched on it a bit, the balance of the Force. I was curious what your thoughts are on the balance and what have been George's comments on balance as well. I recall a few official mentions on balance, but I don't know where they came from. I don't know what I don't recall what you're mentioning when you say George's comments on balance, so I don't really know what that's in reference to. But balance, like balance to the Force, I mean, why is it so important to bring balance? I think that's just a narrative. Should it be taken literally? Well, the prophecy did have Anakin, right, bringing balance in a way. I think it just said not one hand can, you know, rule the galaxy without the other being around. That's why there'll always be Sith or Dark Jedi around, and that's why I don't really mind in the novels, in the EU especially, the Sith or Dark Jedi were around here and there. Now, thankfully, they did not take over every storyline, right? The storyline was usually something different. And that's what the EU tried to do a lot. Sure, they gave us the Empire for a while, but then Del Rey took it to new heights and put new twists on it. And even Bantam, for all their shortcomings in a few ways, actually gave us a real good story with alternate takes of villains besides, and this was later on when Bantam had the books going on, but later on they kind of swerve away from the Empire, which I thought was a good move there. But keeping Dark Jedi in there and Sith, it used to bother me that there was always another Dark Jedi around. Well, yeah, when there's only going to be Jedi, there's going to be Dark Jedi. So I hope that answered your question. Josh Farr, a ton of questions. All right, number one, going by the novels only, would you say that the prequel trilogy is better than the original trilogy? Going by the novels only, yes, sir. That's a Pepsi Max, by the way. This video is brought to you by Pepsi Max. And by the worst team in baseball. It's killing me. It's killing me. For baseball fans who don't know, the Mets lost. They had their worst loss in season history last night. No, not season, excuse me. In the history of the Mets, baseball history, we suffered our worst loss. 25-4. All we needed was 3 more touchdowns, and we could have won the game. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. I can't talk on that. I'm so mad. There's a few moments I wish maybe I should have done the live stream last night when I'm watching. No, I probably shouldn't have done the live stream last night. I was mad. Everyone who thinks Matt's got it all together didn't see me at the game last night. But the funnest time to watch baseball, shoot. Why don't y'all all live here? We can have so much fun if you all just live right next to me. One of the things here, imaginary things we would do, okay, if everyone lived here. First off, you have to come over and try my mom's jambalaya. It's the best in the world, okay? Best jambalaya in the world. screw gumbo, it's jambalaya all the way. And then you'd have to sit and watch a Braves game with my dad. My dad's like one of the funniest people in the world when he's watching a Braves game. If you were to meet him in real life, you know, just like on a regular situation, you'd be like, oh, this guy seems kind of, you know, quiet, kind of boring, you know. Not, but when he gets so animated when watching the Braves, and he is hilarious. He is hilarious. I think that's why my brother goes over to watch. My brother lives like 2 blocks down the road from him, and my brother goes over there all the time. And I think it's just to see my dad just go nuts over the TV, even if the Braves are winning. A strikeout and the Braves win 10-0. My dad's like, oh, come on. He's a huge Braves fan. I guess that's where I get it. Dude, you should tell my wife's not here tonight, but she would tell you the story that when the Mets were in the World Series, I could not sit down. I couldn't sit down and watch any game in the postseason. When the Mets were in it, I had to stand up. My wife said, will you please sit down? I said, I can't. I paced the entire time, yelling at the thing, you know, clap my hands, going, all right, let's go, come on. like they could hear me through the TV. It's totally ridiculous. A live Q&A of me watching base. No, you couldn't do a Q&A because I wouldn't pay attention. I'd pay attention to the TV. And oh man, anyway, my mind's going elsewhere. I'm gonna give you those 5 minutes back. Don't worry. All right. Let's see. Number 2. Did I answer your last question? Oh, I did. I said prequel trilogy, didn't I? Prequel trilogy books are better than sequel trilogy. I answered that. I don't think I did. I'm delirious. Another swig. All right. A lot of sources say that if Anakin Solo survived instead of Jason, he would have become a Grand Master of the Jedi Order. But in a secret book, it says that Anakin would have become a Sith. Which do you think would have happened? Who said Anakin would have become a Sith? I believe someone said that. I just don't know who. I know where they're going with that because they said, well, you know, it's supposed to be Jason to die and then Anakin to live on. And then would Anakin's story be Jason's story, right? For Anakin, I would say no. I would say that only because, if you recall, Anakin is living his life in fear of the dark side. He thinks he thinks his name is destined to make him turn bad. And I think if they would have gone that route after all the stories of him overcoming that fear, I think would have been, you know, a waste. You know, I don't think that would have been a good story arc. With Jason, it makes perfect sense. He goes from 0. Remember, I don't want to use the Force to, I want to know everything about it. So with him, he just ramped up and got too powerful and went off the road. So I think it makes more sense with him. And it made for a more beautiful story. By the way, I love your article in the Crucible. Oh, yeah, thanks. Hey, I don't have to review Crucible, right? You can just read the article. I don't remember if I know I've said this before, but they gave me, Rich and Joe gave me a list of things that I could not do. And on those were the Lando Calrissian trilogy, which was one I was definitely thinking about. And I want to say Kevin J. Anderson's Jedi Academy trilogy was on there too. That's something I couldn't write about. And I remember that, but they didn't, I don't think anyone reported on that. That book, and I can't say, I need to talk to Rich about this, but to me, that book got a lot of rewrites and it went through some heavy, like there were a lot of stories. And I mean, there's a reason I guess it got delayed because it just seemed like a hodgepodge of stories that, not to say they should have kept me involved in the decision making, but when the emails are first going out about, you know, who wants to write about what, a lot of those topics that are in there now were not mentioned. Now, again, I'm not an editor. They don't have to tell me jack squat. I just turn in my article and pray for the best. But I was just kind of surprised that there were some articles in there that I felt didn't really match the theme. I don't know. I'm not being critical of the book. Well, I know, I guess that is being critical of the book. I was just confused by that. I guess because it just kind of took me from left field. I was like, whoa, what's this doing in here? You know, I was like, I don't remember anyone saying that. But I mean, again, I loved it. There was actually some really good articles in there that I really loved. If I had to do it over again, I'd rewrite it. Because I met with I met Troy Denning after I submitted it and it got approved. The thing is, and what I didn't know, and that Rich would have gladly done for me, is I could have just reached out to him and said, hey, Rich, I want to rewrite this because now that I have Troy Denning's input, I want to put that in. And he would have totally let me. And I regret doing that, not doing that. I regret not doing that. And that's my fault. That's no one else's fault but my own. But there's just some things, because some of those articles I read, I mean, yeah, I am kind of overly critical of myself, of course. But some of the articles I read in there were like done really well. And I started thinking, this is what I wanted. This is what I should have had my story as. And I didn't, you know, I mean, I for what I did, I thought it was a good article too, but I like that behind the scenes stuff that some people had in their books or comic books, especially. That comic book novel took me by surprise, man. But I like all the behind the scenes stuff, you know, about how in the making, what happened here, what went on here. That kind of stuff to me was totally interesting, totally interesting. All right. Boy, I'm never going to make it through these, huh? Josh, again, question number 3. I heard people from Lucasfilm said that one of the reasons for continuing the Clone Wars was because of the fans. In my opinion, this just proves that the EU fans keep asking for more Legends stories. We will eventually get our way. What do you think? Bruce and I are going to talk about this on Princes of the Universe later on this month. I'll say yes. And I came up with some ideas. Let me let the podcast come out. It's going to come out at the end of the month. We recorded a few because August is a very busy month for me. You guys know, last year I skipped the live Q&A. I usually don't do a live Q&A in August because I'm so busy, and I am extremely busy. But I did want to make time for it because, like I said, it's my favorite time talking with everyone. But so we recorded a few. The first one's going to be on the Comic-Con. Someone asked me a question about all the Comic-Con trailers, and I answer that in the next podcast. And then after that, we're going to talk about Clone Wars. We're going to talk about what it means for the fandom, a plan going forward, any other any other Star Wars news. So that's coming out. Darth Caedus, your fourth question. Darth Caedus and Anakin Solo versus Count Dooku and Anakin Skywalker. Which pair would win? I would cheer for Darth Caedus and Anakin. And I think they would win against Count Dooku and Anakin Skywalker. That's my opinion. And number 5, if Jaina Solo was replaced with Rey, how would the New Jedi Order, Legacy of the Force, and Fate of the Jedi have turned out? If they were replaced with Rey, well, New Jedi Order never would have happened because Rey would have single-handedly beat off the Vong by herself without anyone, without even a spaceship. She would have just floated out into space and just wiped them all. And then Legacy of the Force never would have happened because she would have squashed Jason's, new rebellion and everything, new empire. The moment, well, actually, she would have known about it before it happened and stopped it then. And then Fate of the Jedi would just be a bunch of people twiddling their thumbs and looking over because the one Sith, they would have been eliminated a long time ago because Rey would have been around and she would have eliminated them as well. I mean, she would have gone back in time and eliminated them and then come back in her spaceship shaped like a DeLorean. And she actually would have ruled as Queen of Narnia for so many years. Okay, Brian C. says, Matt, what are some thoughts on the recent movie trailers that were released? Godzilla 2, we talk about in the podcast. Aquaman, Shazam, we talk about in the podcast. Venom, we do not. I forgot to mention Venom. But, Brian, I will talk about Venom. Venom looks horrible. It looks like garbage. I really hope the missus doesn't want to see that because I don't want to see that movie. That movie looks terrible. I mean, terrible. That's just me. All right. Official Ray Blitz. Do you think Revan could defeat Kyle Katarn in a lightsaber duel? Yes, but I'd be cheering for Kyle Katarn the entire time. Considering the Clone Wars is returning, do you think the best time for us to continue Legends? Oh, to ask for more Legends content. Should we make a campaign called Legends Saved? Which, by the way, I laughed out loud, Blitz, when I read that. I thought it was funny. Legends Saved. I'll tell you this. I'll summarize what I say in the podcast a little bit. I think in 2019 we need to start putting our ducks in a row. I think we should because I think once episode 9 hits, it's on. I think it's on. I think we have a good shot. I mean, I'm talking like, I do not speak for the Twin Sons Foundation, but their newest fundraiser or their last fundraiser, any extra that made over the goal, they were going to put half away to a billboard. And I actually spoke to Brian last week, 2 weeks ago. I went to go see him, you know, him specifically. I didn't go out there for work. I went specifically for Brian. And I told him this. And so he knows this, and probably the Twin Sons people know this. I think 2019, we ought to start saving our little pennies and getting another billboard ready. I say we hit them hard when episode 9 comes out. I mean, it feels like a good thing for me, but we'll see how that goes. And I don't know if Twin Sons has any plans on that, but I would love for something to say, hey, their next one, what is it? Their next fundraiser, anything over, whenever they go over their fundraiser, all that money goes to the billboard. I do not speak for Twin Sons, though. I'm not saying that's what they're going to do. So just saying here. All right. So John. Hey, John. More of a statement. Oh, John, I did read your statement. I thought it was really good. And so I'm going to skip to your questions. That's right. Are you confident that you will see the continuation of the EU once episode 9 business wraps up? We'll see. Well, if the fans are willing to give us one big hurrah, we'll see. Because remember, originally, a long time ago, said, let us finish this trilogy first, because they're hoping we'd forget and go away. We haven't. We've grown in numbers, you know, so I want to show them that right after episode 9 comes out. I mean, like 2020, I mean, the only person advertising more than us will be the presidential candidates, okay? And maybe not even them. We'll probably be advertising more than them. And then question number 3, well, point number 3, hold on. Seeing George Lucas's attitude toward the EU starting to drastically change toward the end, I saw the beginning of the end of the EU when the Clone Wars came out. While I did not foresee the great decanonization, had Lucas not sold the franchise, I foresaw large portions of the EU being constantly rendered voided out by the new material coming down from the top, overriding the old. Would you agree? No, I would not, John. Here's why. George wasn't really, I mean, he was so-so. Remember, it's like whatever they make. However, if you recall, there's a billion instances, and someone asked another question here that I'm going to get to. There's a billion instances where George really cared about what happened in the expanded universe. Now, why would he put down rules for the expanded universe if he didn't care? But we see this constantly. Remember, and in the behind-the-scenes DVDs in the Clone Wars, it wasn't him tearing up the canon that much. It was Filoni. Filoni even says, George wanted to do this, but we did this instead. Or we kind of did that, but we added this. And so any of that stuff, and remember, Leland Chee said, don't worry, guys, we'll fix it. And the fix was, I'm positive now, the fix was Final Fantasy's Force and Destiny fix, which said, hey, some of this stuff is, you know, Clone Wars, Filoni's Clone Wars was done like a, you know, what attack on Naboo, the droid army is blah, blah, blah. The Jedi heroes of their, whatever, Confederacy have taken over this and that. You know, it's done like a newsreel. Well, that means that Imperial propaganda and not everything that happened in the Clone Wars happened that way. For some reason, they changed things up. In fact, in the intercepted transmission in Force and Destiny's source book, it says, I don't know why they're changing some things up, but they're changing little facts up. And it's basically to say, hey, whenever that, you know, contradicts with the EU, that's the Compnor changing, you know, the story of the Clone Wars. Why are they doing that? We don't know. That's kind of weird. And so that makes perfect sense. And that would have just written Clone Wars right off, but still would have included it. Like the things happen. It almost puts the Clone Wars at S canon, right? Because it did happen, but not necessarily the way we saw. Anyway, I think it would have been intact as comic books and books and everything else goes. I really do. Laura, this isn't a question. All right, Black Hole. What do you think Dala should get a novel? Yes, love Dala. Or do you not want them just to do it just for the sake of it? Well, no. If they did it, they'd have to do it justice, which I think they would. I would love for Kevin J. Anderson to write that too. Also, have you seen that terrible Star Wars show on YouTube? Are you talking about mine? It says, are they even real fans? They seem fake with the reactions. You seem, you know what? I don't know what you're talking about. I haven't seen it, so no, I have not seen it. The General CJG. This must be today. You put this out. I've been waiting to read some Star Wars Dark Horse comics set in the Galactic Civil War era or Rebellion era since I've read comics only in the Clone Wars era between issues 3 and 4 in the Dark Empire trade. Do you have some recommendations for the Rebellion era? Gosh, that's a good question. I should have. I guess I missed this question when I was pre-reading over them this morning. No. Does anyone have one in the chat? A Rebellion era comic. I mean, man, after talking about Rebellion and Empire, I mean, I can't recommend them as much as I would recommend other comic books. That's interesting. There may be a short story I'm forgetting. I don't know. You stumped me on that one. Says the Empire. Well, the comic book version. I don't know. That's from a novel though. Empire Rebellion, Star Wars 2013. Yeah, I know the comic books are out there, but are they really just good? I mean, the ones he's naming here are great. You know, well, not great. Purge is okay. Obsession is really good. Those Republic issues are friggin-tastic at times. Dark Empire is good. So I don't know. It's a great question. I don't know if anything's that caliber of comic book to me. Okay. All right. Number 2. Do you think you'll spend a lot more time diving into the Rebellion era than you would in the Clone Wars era, or would it be less time than the Clone Wars era? I don't know. You know what? I always thought the Clone Wars would be bigger, and we spent a ton of time in the Clone Wars, but in this Rebellion era, there are a ton of stuff between Star Wars and Empire. Like I said, I will get to Empire Strikes Back September or October, but going from Empire to Jedi is going to take a while too. So it's going to be, you know, I don't know. I shouldn't say that, but mid 2019 maybe when I get to the post Jedi stuff. I'm just guessing there, but there is a ton of stuff in the Rebellion era, and that's because everyone wanted to write in the Rebellion era. Everyone wanted to write in the Rebellion era. Okay. How do you deal with Clone Wars? This is his third question. When it came to doing it chronologically, since the Clone Wars 2008 screwed up the Clone Wars timeline a lot. How did 2008 screw up the? Hold on, am I remembering this right? Oh, okay. Got it. Clone Wars when it's doing it chronology since Clone Wars. Oh, what did I do? I used the new. He's saying, how did I straighten out the Clone Wars? You basically can't. You're right about all the Clone Wars stuff. I get what you're saying now. So how did I find a Clone Wars timeline? I just made it up as I went along. I mean, I had help. Joe Bongiorno helped me. StarWarsTimeline.net. He's actually worked really hard on his timeline. It's not perfect 100%, but it's getting there. I mean, well, it may be now. I haven't seen it in a while, but he is constantly working on that. I do look at Pablo Hidalgo's Star Wars companion. Wikipedia, I don't look at that much. Their timeline is not really that good. It's full of holes in it, and it's like a garden with a ton of weeds. You know, it's just not worth it. It'd be nice if someone went out and weeded that Wikipedia site, but so I use the book and Joe, and then just ask sometime what makes more sense. I've talked to Joe on this a couple of times. Where do you think we'd put this? Would this make more sense here to put it here? I think you put it here. What would you say? And Joe's like, no, that's stupid, man. I go, oh, that is stupid. He tells me why. So, you know, that's kind of how I work it. And it was a headache. Clone Wars was a headache. I knew Clone Wars was a headache going into it. If I can get past the Rebellion era, I can do anything. All right, so what's your fourth question? What Star Wars media that was being made when Lucasfilm buyout happened that you eventually canceled everything you wanted to see released? My personal votes for Star Wars. Oh, what did I want to see? Star Wars 1313. Ooh, Force Unleashed 3. Oh, that's a hard one. Force Unleashed 3 and Star Wars 1313 would be my top two. I would love to see an ending just because I love to see an ending to Force Unleashed. But Star Wars 1313 was supposed to get the big, you know, we don't. It looked like it was going to be another comic book release, maybe some books. I mean, it was going to get into a Shadows of the Empire treatment they were talking about. So that would have been cool to see too. All right, Kid Creator. Which do you think is more tragic, the original origin of General Grievous or the fact that it got retconned in Clone Wars? Ha ha! I read that one this morning. I laughed. You made me giggle, sir. That was funny. How can you tell if the character is acting out of character, if they're evolving or maturing into a better one? Like, how would they make decisions that would normally wouldn't do if it wasn't necessary out of character? I love this question. By the way, I read this question and went, whoa, that's really good. Because, you know, I've mentioned this in other books before. I said, I don't feel like it was their character. You think, well, Matt, who are you to judge character? Well, first off, I think you have to go by the movies, right? The original trilogy, and then compare that to the novels of that time. And does that character act like the one from the movies, you know? And sometimes, yes, I think Timothy Zahn's Thrawn trilogy got it dead on. But then I think other books of his, like what was the one, Choices of One? No, I do not think it did. And now, was it this? I've seen Luke and Han's characters mature in a way that I thought was right. I've seen some weird people that wrote some stories that didn't feel like the original, you know, the main three, Leia, Luke, and Han. I've seen some people write the characters and they're just not doing that good of a job. And I think if it doesn't match up to the flow of a character should remain the same. Now, when authors write about characters from other authors' books, it's always polite. They don't have to, but it's always polite to call the author and then ask them to read their book, read your draft with their character in it. Say, is this what your character would do? They're trying to make sure that Mara Jade, when she's in other people's books, that she feels true to the character that Timothy Zahn created. And vice versa for anyone else taking, you know, other people's characters. Aaron Alston and Michael Stackpole talk about this all the time, saying, hey, you know, Aaron, is this what your character would do? Yeah. Hey, Mike, would your character do this? And so they try to keep that continuity. Now, Timothy Zahn basically said, screw it at the end. And he started doing his own thing. He wanted Rebellion era stories. He didn't want to deal with the New Jedi Order era at all. And he wanted to do stories he wanted to do. And because of that, some of his characters and even the main characters feel kind of disconnected after a while to me. Now, does that mean Mara looks any different? No, because he created Mara. He knows how Mara acts. But sometimes Luke didn't act the same. Now, you could say, well, Matt, that's because you're used to reading the mature Luke, and then you have to zip back in time and see the old rebellious Luke and say, oh, that's not the Luke I know and love. Yeah, I guess, but I am privy to what time it is, and I buy into that whatever era the book's built, so I can gauge how powerful Luke can be, or how, you know, much of a family man to a loner ratio is Han at this moment. And I guess it's to the reader, right? Because what if the reader didn't? I guess that's decided by the reader. But in some of my comments where I said the characters don't feel right, I meant that they just don't feel in line with the era or with the actual portrayal of the character. Third question you have for me is, do you think Ventress had a better story in the Republic comic books or the Clone Wars? Republic comic books, I think she shined a lot. Tartakovsky's Clone Wars, she was awesome in. Before the Clone Wars TV show, it was implied that Obi-Wan first met Grievous face-to-face in Revenge of the Sith. Was this always the case, or did the Clone Wars get that right? No. It was implied that was their first time. In fact, I've said this before. If you watch Dave Filoni's Clone Wars, it totally discredits almost everything in Episode 3, right? You know, when Obi-Wan goes, this time, Anakin, we do it together. And Anakin should have said, like the other 2 times, when are you going to keep reminding me of something that happened years ago, Obi-Wan? Because they've already met before several times, at least twice. I want to say a third time, but 2 times I can recall that Anakin and Obi-Wan fought Dooku. It was almost like Filoni got mixed up and said, well, this happens after Attack of the Clowns, or I'm sorry, after Revenge of the Sith is what he thought it happened. Because it feels like, ugh. And Grievous fighting, Obi-Wan, oh, it was so menacing. But no, he's fought Obi-Wan, what did I say, 5 or 6 times in the Clone Wars? Don't make a liar out of me. I want to say it was like 5 or 6 times, though. I am including, there's another encounter, I think, in the season 6, which came out on DVD. So every time they fought in the Clone Wars, Obi-Wan beats him, right? Obi-Wan beats him easily, and Grievous runs away. So in Revenge of the Sith, why does Grievous think he has a chance? If I'm Grievous and I've gotten my butt handed to me by Obi-Wan at least 4 or 5 times in a row, I'm going to run. I'm not going to go against him. Why would I think now I have a chance? And the other time. So it basically discredits Revenge of the Sith. Now, if you watch Tartakovsky's Clone Wars, Grievous looks bad arse, right? He doesn't lose. He's slaughtering Jedi left and right. Yeah, he's super scary then. Then you go into the movie thinking, oh, man, what's going to happen? Like I did. I thought it was awesome. Anyway, last question for you. How would you make the prequels better? And you give a lot of ideas, and here's how. Remove George Lucas as director. Keep him on as the creative talent, but have someone else come in there, massage his script, and direct. Keep the same actors, basically the same characters, but put a different director that helps smooth out the writing, and you've got grand stories. I think George Lucas's imagination and creativity is his strong point. There's no question on that. And with Empire and Jedi being great, it was written by George, massaged by the other writers, and delivered perfectly by a director. If he would have put directors in there, because originally the plan was to have other people direct episode 2 and 3. So 1, in my mind, was only going to be a stinker, but 2 and 3 were going to be better because he was going to get, no one knew back then, but we imagine it'd be Steven Spielberg and Ron Howard, 2 of his close friends. And they were like, no, George, you should do it yourself. We're like, no, don't tell him that. So I think it's just the director there. Revenkist, I hope I'm saying your name right. Revenkist says, do you use any resources to verify your collection of EU material that is complete? Yes, I do. My videos. There is no one else. There's nothing I can look at to reference. Man, if someone would have been making the videos I'm making now back in the day, I would have been glued. I would have stalked you. I probably would have taken a plane ticket out and flew out there just to shake your hand. It warms my heart when I introduce a short story or a comic book or something unknown. Someone goes, I never knew that. I'm looking for it right now. Thanks. Or Matt, never knew this came out, adding it to my collection. I love that because I know exactly how that feels. The last time I found something new that I did not see in the EU is when I'm doing my own study and I'm going, oh, what? Or when someone tells me, Chris from the expandeduniverse.com, he's told me of a few things in the past last year. In fact, I even marked it on my calendar. Let me see if I can, I'm going to see if I can pull my calendar because I looked at this. On my calendar, M&M calendar, on July 31st, I've been writing down something that I do every day on the calendar or something big that happens. So this is 2017. So a year ago, I got a new waffle iron. 1 year ago, happy waffle iron day to me, sir. Which I think is really awesome that I have that now, that I know that. So anyway, on July 31st, found new EU is what it says. It's underlined. I don't know if you can see that, found new EU. And it's underlined because it's a half day, but it is, it says what it was too. But I was so excited. That was my achievement for the day, July 31st of 2017. Of course, I need to go wish my waffle iron happy birthday, right? I've had it for 1 year. Cranking that baby out. We were supposed to eat waffles tomorrow. It was supposed to be waffle and board game night with the girls. The girls come over every blue moon for waffles and board games. And that would have been fun to share with them, but because I have other plans, I can't do it. Okay, where's my phone? There it is. For that too. All right, let's do this. Have you read Evasive Action in game? Yes, did a video on it. Duel of the Fates and Battle for Theed. And if so, would you review them? Okay, Duel of the Fates and Battle for Theed. I'm not really sure what you're referring to. If you're referring to children's novels or comic books or something that's basically rehashing stories from episode 1, I don't review those. I don't review the children's versions. I don't review the journals because the journals just rehash other stuff like Obi-Wan and Darth Maul's journal, which I almost bought both for a minute because there's like one scene at the beginning with Darth Maul where he's with Sidious when he's little that's not covered anywhere else, and I almost got it for that, but then said, well, actually the rest of it's just a rehash. It's a retelling of his other adventures. They're nice. I mean, heck, even Obi-Wan has the little Golden Books adventures in there, and that's because Ryder Wenham wrote it. And Ryder is the most meticulous EU author who never got a. That dude deserved his own novel. The study that he went into. In the Life and Times of Obi-Wan, or the Obi-Wan Journal, he recalls that little Golden Book story where he saves Luke and Fixer from Beggar's Canyon. Why put that in there? Because he's Ryder Wenham. He says that happened. I'm including it in. It's just amazing, amazing stuff. So they're good novels. But since they rehash and retell the same story, I don't review those. Legacy of the Force or Fate of the Jedi? Man, this is a hard question. I bounce back and forth on this. Okay, you can convince me either way, but I'll flip a coin. I'm going to say Legacy of the Force. If you want to say Fate of the Jedi is better, you're probably right. I mean, both of them are really good. Do you think Ewoks cartoon and movies, Droids, and Clone Wars should have been T-canon, and why do you think they weren't? That's very easy why they weren't. It's just because Filoni wanted to do his own. He didn't want to be. Let me see. Let's see. He didn't want to be tied to the EU, and he didn't want to be tied to the EU. Someone else said I didn't do Evasive Action, so now I wonder if that video even made it. I know I reviewed it because I had the notes on that. I'll have to go back and look and see. I know I recorded it because I remember it specifically talking about Evasive Action. So I'll go back and look and see. If it's not there, it's not there. So, oh well. Anyway, but Filoni didn't want to be tied down to the EU. Remember, he got embarrassed in that video. Oh, the video's gone. Someone told me they can't find the video anymore. And I looked it up, and sure enough, it's not on YouTube anymore. It was that video, and now I regret because I don't even know why I didn't do this. For a lot of videos, and back in the old days, I'd play it. You could hear the sound, and I would let you hear the sound. I didn't want to copy someone's video they made and post it on my channel without their permission. But I played the sound, and I thought I'd played the sound bite for that fan calling out Filoni because he was saying he was such a big fan of the EU. Say if you are, then you got this wrong, this wrong, this wrong, this wrong, and kind of embarrassed him. And he got kind of like, oh, man, blah, blah. And that's gone. It's gone. It is not on YouTube anymore. And someone who saw it, years ago, I think Dylan can correct me about this, that there was that video. It was at Celebration years ago, and they asked Filoni if he liked the expand. Oh yeah, I'm a big fan. Do this, do that. He's like, okay, well you don't know it because you're doing this. I mean, just totally cut him down and something. But I watched it. I thought it was funny, and oh man, you can't find it. You can't find it anymore. I looked everywhere for it, so it does not exist anymore unless a few of you who saw it back in the day remember it, and that's it. Whoever it was deleted the video because I cannot find it for the life of me. And I don't remember what it was under either, but I remember I found it pretty easy back in the day. But anyway, I think that's the reason. But yeah, I do a video where I talk about canon. I say, why isn't, if it's television canon, then why aren't other things that showed up on TV T-canon? And George had a lot, just as much influence in droids as he did with Clone Wars. And droids, George opened up gave them his diary, his book of things that ideas he had for the original trilogy, but never got to. That's why droids has tons of connections to the prequels, because they're using George's notes on planet names and ideas and stuff. So when you talk about pod racing or the moons of Bogdan, or the little wheel car that Grievous has in episode 2 is in droids. And there's a ton of connections from droids in that one. That's because George Lucas gave them his notes. They're going off of George's ideas from droids. So that's why it was so creative and ahead of its time in a way. And Ewoks, I don't know if he had any influence. I mean, he talked with them a little bit about Ewoks and what he wanted. But he had limits on what they could do with droids. He told them what they could and couldn't do. And again, that just shows how George Lucas was very involved in other things. Anyway, though, all right. So the last question I say for last, because Tony had a great question. What's your take on James Gunn being fired from Guardians of the Galaxy? And I started answering this, Tony, in my head, and then I went off on a rant. So I'm going to try to do this without going on a rant. First off, a bunch of people said idiot stuff 10 years ago, right? James Gunn's apologized. Okay, with me, it's under the bridge. He was being a doofus back then, but you know what? Everyone was. In baseball right now, some of these pitchers and players are getting crucified over things they said when they were in high school on Twitter. Really? Are you going to tell me that you never said anything stupid in high school? I'm so glad I was raised, I went through high school without social media. Can you imagine the stupid things we would have said? Can you imagine the things people are saying right now that they're grown up, and 10 years ago, it's still on their Twitter or MySpace feed that they said this, or even an old Facebook feed they said this? Yeah, there's a reason Rian Johnson deleted 20,000 tweets, okay? Because he knows he's done just as bad. Oh, I just didn't want anyone to twist my words. No, you don't delete 20,000 tweets because you feel like it that day. So I think that they should ease off on people saying whatever they said back when they were little, they weren't thinking. There's a lot of people who said things in their youth that they were so hot-headed that they, get persecuted over it now. It's too late now. You should have said something back then. But now you want to go, and it's just character. It's just destroying someone's character from things of their past. It's holding them accountable for things they said when they were adolescents, and that's totally wrong. Now, James Gunn was not an adolescent when he said this. That is true. It is true. But shock comedy was in, folks. I'm not saying the things he said was funny, but shock comedy, all the things he said, really awful today. But back then, a lot of people were talking like that. That's why Rian Johnson deleted 20,000 tweets. I guarantee you, one of his tweets was very similar to that. They joke about something you shouldn't joke about, and you wouldn't do today. But that shock comedy, remember, was big back then. So, I mean, the king of it was, now he doesn't do anything. Howard Stern, which basically runs a PG-rated radio show now compared to what he used to do. Hold on. But I don't think people should be held accountable for things. They can apologize. I think they should apologize. Say, hey, look, that was me as a kid, but we should move on. People shouldn't be trying to dig up dirt from especially years ago. Okay. Now, there is a little poetic justice, I know, because James Gunn was pointing out the deficiencies in others based off things they said 7, 8 years ago. And now he knows how it feels. So maybe he's learned a lesson. Again, I think he's a true apologist, and he shouldn't have been taken off Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy is going to do well, though. The actors are still there. The show's going to have the same look and feel. It's going to be a little different, but I think it's going to be fine. So anyway, I think that's all I want to say about that. We'll talk sometime, Tony, because I got more of a bigger rant, but that's for a different time. Woo! Okay, now let's get to your live questions. With 5 minutes to go. That's right. I promised you 5 extra minutes for going off on my meds. Okay. Oh, good. No questions so far. Hey, Matt. Big fan. Thanks, Joseph. How do I convince my girlfriend the EU is better than the new canon? Actually, you can't. If she likes the new canon, great. Has she tried the EU though? And here's the other tough thing: is she a book reader? My wife doesn't like to read books that much, even though lately she has been on a tear. What's her name? Mary Higgins Clark books. Holy cow! And she's reading through Harry Potter. And I'm trying to get her to read some other side stuff too. But she's become a big reader. But she wasn't for the longest because she just didn't like to sit around and read a book. Well, now that she's kind of found her niche of stuff that she's interested in, like Harry Potter and Mary Higgins Clark, she reads all the time. So if she's a reader, give her some of the books and ask her to try it out. Don't force her hand. If she likes the new canon, that is fine. My wife is, remember, I told my wife wanted to go see episode 7. I said, go for it. I don't think she saw Rogue One. She may have. She did not see episode 8. She did not see Solo. As far as she's concerned, she's done because she just lost interest in the new canon. The expanded universe, she's never going to read. I don't think she would. Maybe. At one time, she was interested in reading. She has read a few comic books, though. She has read a few Star Wars. We were waiting in line at a Comic-Con. I brought Crimson Empire 2. I know. I got it for Dave Dorman to sign. Looking at his autograph over here. That's why I'm pointing over there. Dave Dorman to sign. And so she read Crimson Empire 2 and enjoyed it, but she wanted to read the first one. I was like, yeah, when we get home, we'll do that. So she's read Crimson Empire and loved it. So maybe comic books, and she does love comic books. She does. She has all the, they're not here anymore. They're in the other room, but she has all the old, Walking Dead comic books, the hardback, nice kind. She's a big comic book fan too. So it's up to her. It's up to her whether she makes that decision or not. I don't know if you can convince her. You can have talks about Master of the Terrace Key, Terrace Kasi. Okay, whatever it's called. See, I told you. Say it wrong. Have I played Jedi Academy? No, I haven't played most video games. All right, going through these. I'm gonna give us a few bonus minutes. Oh, Tony's here. Then I'll call you, Tony, and tell you what I was going to say. I don't know if Dylan's on here, but every time Dylan sees me, he crosses his fingers and says, don't step over the line, Matt. I have a feeling Dylan does that because Dylan knows when I go off on rants. I'm a history major. Let me just put it that way. And I hate how history is being treated a lot lately. How do you feel about Zahn keeping? How do I feel about Zahn keeping Thrawn consistent in the new canon? Consistent? It's not. According to Timothy Zahn, Thrawn has a lot of the same mannerisms, but he's different this time around. What article was that? That was one of his first articles he wrote, because he's sewing a different story and giving. He's able to give Thrawn a different character and explore him more than he did in the old canon because he only had him for 3 books. So to him, this is a new and improved. This isn't the same old Thrawn you've seen. In fact, that was one of the early interviews for Thrawn. So according to Thrawn, I mean, he has some of the same mannerisms, I'm sure. I'm sure he does. But according to Timothy Zahn, he's got a lot. It's a newer version. And I'm sure Timothy Zahn said better version too, but that's debatable. Rob D. Hey, Matt, what do you think of the direct-to-DVD 2D animated Star Wars Legends movies similar to direct-to-DVD? Oh, I'd love to see that. If they made Star Wars Legends movie, that'd be great. You know who should make it? The people who produce animated movies for DC. Holy cow, folks. DC sucks in the movie theater. But in the animated series, like their movies that come out to DVD, I just saw Batman Ninja. I'm not saying it's the best thing ever, but if you like anime and you like Batman, that's got to be up your alley. I thought the story was a stretch. It was a stretch. So I had to unhook my brain and just enjoy it. But it was pretty good. And it looked amazing. Well, howdy from Burbank. Jefferson. Are you a movie star from Burbank? Blitz. Thoughts on Jedi Exile, a.k.a. Metro Cyric? I think nothing about that. Nothing for you. Sorry. Lockjaw disagrees with you, Tony. He says new canon's garbage. Actually, not to everyone. There are a few people who really do like it. Or well, they don't like all of it. They're like, who's that guy? Matt from the Geeks Addict. He reads it and he's very honest. He'll tell you if he really likes something or if he doesn't. So I believe him, by the way. I know at times he does get books and he does get free books for reviews, but the dude is very honest in his reviews. I mean, you get a book and then you're going to bash it. Oh, that's honest there. So when he says he does like something, I truly believe him. Plus, he's a good guy. Joe's timeline is near perfect. I agree with that now. It's near perfect. Not 100% perfect. Joe would admit that too. But it's pretty good. What would you say are the odds of the Clone Wars continuation also being Legends? Zero. Talk about that in the podcast. You can actually follow the multimedia project for Clone Wars content, right? I don't know what that means. Hold on. Making it through. Oh, Brian is here. Yeah. By the way, I gave Brian a few board games because he's my friend. And I was hoping for Queen's Gambit in exchange. I didn't. I need a second copy, Brian. Come on. Brian Borg from the Twin City Foundation is just a fantastic guy. I say that of everyone. Everyone's better than me. Tony's more interesting than me. Everyone's so cool. I have so many good memories with Brian because he introduced me to Queen's Gambit, which I love, and Flashpoint Fire Rescue, which I just went bonkers over when we played together. So I have a lot of good memories of him. And I have a lot of good memories of eating at a Mexican restaurant and near the border with Tony. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I won't give away your secret location, sir. But I still talk about that place. It was a fun night. While I'm searching through these, I love when I get a chance to meet a lot of you. My wife was saying, you used to travel a lot to different cons. We don't go to any cons anymore. I was like, no. She said, and you would always see someone you knew. I said, no, those are people who watch the YouTube and then they come say hello. I said, but I knew them. I know them now. I have not, Quantum, I've not checked out the Clone Wars Conversations by James Arnold Taylor. Perhaps I should. I haven't seen Mandalore's video of why Clone Wars doesn't fit in Legends, but I mean, remember, officially it does. It's part of Legends and new canon. And when you look at the Legacy and the Force retcon that says, hey, that series was Imperial propaganda that slightly changes what really happened or actual events, then everything can fit. I know it's a lazy patch over it, but I think because they built it as it's built as an Imperial newsreel, or Republic newsreel controlled by the Emperor, right? So it makes sense. They projected it that way, so I think that idea makes a lot of sense to me. Nightwing, I'm sorry, I don't know why. Oh, I heard that you have to subscribe to a bell now or something. Everyone says click the bell to get reminders and notifications because YouTube doesn't send reminders out. You got to click a bell. I don't know what it's talking about. I have a little yub nub for subscriptions. Have y'all noticed that? I added it sneakily. I wasn't going to do a subscribe button because I think that's stupid. But when I saw I could get different icons and I could make it a yub nub, I was like, yeah, we're doing that. Thoughts on having the Clone Wars be exclusively in Disney canon? Well, the new season will, Isaac. The new season will, I think. The rest of it, no. I mean, to be honest, I do come down to Clone Wars more than I think I should, but that's just because of Filoni. But the thing is, there's 50% of really good stuff in there, honestly. There's 50% of really good stuff in there that I do appreciate. Eventually, maybe I should just make a video on what I love about the Clone Wars, maybe. Well, Timothy Zahn's writing Zahn's character. That's true, and that's why you see consistencies. But he's added some stuff. I can't remember what the interview was, but he did say that. He said he imagines this as a different Thrawn in a different universe, and he can do a lot more with him, he said. So, and then that, and then plus the review saying, you know, this isn't your regular Thrawn. It's a new Thrawn with different, he's a little bit different, but they liked the upgrade. A lot of people were very positive about that book. Hey, Jess. I'm drinking Pepsi too. Hey, I just got paid. Thank you. I'm kidding. It's not sponsored by Pepsi. Do I think the Mets should have traded more at the deadline? I think the Mets should have just called the season. I think we should have just called it. Just go forfeit the rest of our games and go home. I am so pissed off. I laugh now because I can, but I was not in a good mood yesterday or this morning. You can laugh. As a Met fan, you can laugh about it. What are your plans when you finish Legacy Volume 2? I'm going to start reviewing new Legend stories that Lucasfilm will come out with. Jose Reyes a better pitcher than Matt's. At this moment, I'm the best pitcher. I think the Mets are doing open tryouts tomorrow. I don't know. On Citi Field. Who knows? Diamondbacks are really good, Tony. I actually like the stuff they have. Pirates, whatever. Go Cards. Oh, Jess, no, don't say that. Can you retract that comment? I'm kidding. So much fun. So many baseball fans here. Brian, why don't you live here, Matt? I don't live there because you have dirt, dust, and cacti. Family. You know why. Even though the missus would gladly move out there. I said, what did I say on the phone to someone? I said, she wouldn't be upset if I die. And she went, oh, thanks a lot. I said, no, you'd move straight out to Phoenix. She went, I would. In a heartbeat. I don't even know if I would be, she would be at my funeral. She'd be busy packing the U-Haul, going to Phoenix. She'd be going somewhere. She wouldn't be staying here. I'm the only anchor keeping her here. Yanks are never greater than Mets. That's an awful thing to say, Joe. Where is Yub Nub? Oh, there he is. He's right here. He's always here, chilling out with me, sitting on stuff. He was upset because I didn't feed him any of that bologna from my last video. Where is that Ewok? Rob D, when you review Crystal Stark in the first 20 seconds after the intro, just be you and Yub Nub with your heads down in disappointment, eating bologna. I added the eating bologna thing, but that's funny. What's the best prequel novel out of 1, 2, and 3? Yeah, your guys are right. Probably Revenge of the Sith. Revan's a good character. That's why that game, everyone loves it. You should get a Discord. Nah, I don't want one. Favorite error? Post Jedi. I'm determined to catch up. Brian, I would not come out there just for you. I'm gonna tell you something though. There are some great characters out there in the Phoenix area, man. I have really enjoyed Brian and his friends and Tony and a few other people that I've gotten to meet out there. They are good characters. Good characters. I think Brian, that I would annoy you after a while. I always think every time I'm out there and I visit him, I say, yeah, this is a guy. He'd be like, I'd be calling him every day, like, what do you want to do tonight? What do you want to do? You want to do something? You want to come over to my house? You know, can I come over to your house? You want to do something? He'd be like, oh gosh, it's Matt. No, I'm busy. Delete, block. Oh, okay. Brian did give an update on the billboard. Good. And again, I don't speak for Legends, but I mean for Twin Sons Foundation, but I think we should start throwing some money away for 2019, kind of putting it away for a rainy day for 2020. What do you think of a Star Wars film directed by Quentin Tarantino? I don't know. Samuel Jackson would still be in it, right? It'd be a Mace Windu one. That's one tasty Banta burger. That had to be a line from it. Do you think we should have more Ben Skywalker? Sure, why not? He's a great character. I wish I could have seen more of him. I was getting really disappointed because I really thought that they would go into his character more now that Luke and Leia and Han are moving on, and we got a little bit of that, but not as much as I wanted. Jess, was Crucible a good book to end the Big Four? Your thoughts? Is this where I hawk my book about that? Do I do this? Jess, there's a book on Amazon.com called A More Civilized Age, where I actually talk about Crucible and whether it was a good ending or not, and why. No, I did not. If you don't want to buy the book, that's fine. Since the Clone Wars episodes are just Imperial propaganda, shouldn't you watch season 7 since they're not always aligned with the EU canon anyway? No, they're going to be Legends. I mean, they're going to be strictly new canon. I'll even tell you this: they're going to connect to Rebels, I bet. So I just don't see that being both Legends. Filoni's never going to let that fly. And I'm not someone who likes to go in there and hammer it out. Joe does. Joe likes doing that. He likes taking new canon and trying to fit it into the old, but I'm not for mixing canon. We respectfully disagree on that. We don't even yell at each other or call each other names. We just disagree. So nice to have civilized conversations. For a more civilized age, on sale at Amazon.com. Shameless plug. I haven't done that much for the book, have I? Can you use the new essential guide to chronology for the Clone Wars content? No, because it just does the books. That's the one bad thing about that book. It's just for the books. I mean, that's the purpose of it, but I wish they could have done several volumes, included comic books and short stories and everything, but that's asking too much, I guess. Can you stream with Joe one day? I want to listen to his voice. I'd love to stream. I would love, with his permission, to record one of our phone calls. Joe and I will talk every once in a while. The first time we talked, and I talked to Rich the next night, I think Joe and I talked for 6.5 hours. There wasn't one single girlfriend in college I talked to that long on the phone. And it was, I mean, and you'd think 6.5 hours, Matt, did y'all get bored? Weren't you falling asleep? Weren't you just like, oh, it's taking forever? No, it went by like that. We were both, I mean, his phone died or my phone died by the end of it. I had to plug my phone in, so it must have been his phone. But the thing was, 6.5 hours and we weren't even done. We didn't say goodbye. The phone said goodbye. And it was, I just didn't call him back because it was already 3:30 my time, 4:30 his time. I was like, I got to wake up in a few hours. I got to take a nap. But I mean, we just had and I was so freaking, I'd never spoken to, this is the first time I ever spoke on the phone. And I was like, man, I don't know. Is he going to say, you're kind of an idiot, so I don't want to talk to you too long. Okay, Matt, I got to go now. Bye. And the moment we started talking, it was like we have known each other for years. For years. I mean, I love that man so much. And Rich the same way. I can tell this story, I think. I don't think Rich would mind. I called and his wife answered. And she goes, who's this? And I said, Matt. I say, is Rich there? She went, yes, who's speaking? Who's this? I went, Matt. Matt who? Matt Wilkins. Who are you? And I went, I worked with him on the Sequart book. Okay. And then I hear her go, Rich, it's Matt from Sequart. And I was like, no, I don't work there. Rich like, Matt from Sequart? Who's that? I was like, no, sorry. And Rich and I talked for 4.5 hours before I think I ended it, but we had so much fun. I was asking about, I already did my review on his thing, I think, on the video, but I was asking for his input and Vader's Quest and other things. And but we didn't talk about that till about 3 hours into our conversation. He's a big Trekkie, and we started talking Trek for like 2 hours. We talked about this and that for another hour, Star Wars for another hour in general. I mean, just another delight. And it felt like we'd always been friends. These guys are so outgoing, entertaining, so friendly. They're so friendly. I can't say enough good things about them. They're really great. I've asked Joe to do the podcast with me and Rich. Both of them have said, yeah, but they're not getting Skype. So I'd have to record a phone call, and phone calls do not work very well. If you recall, the last time we did a phone call was with Dwayne, and it was okay. Dwayne did fine, but I didn't like how the recording sounded hollow. So I don't know. I'd love to do. Joe and Rich have so many incredible things to say. In fact, Joe gave me ideas for Matt Chat videos back when I was doing them on the expanduniverse.com. Joe gave me Matt Chat video ideas for a whole month by our conversations. Like, because the thing about fan canon is that canon, because George Lucas considers the fan fiction canon in a way. And I was like, what? I've never thought about that. So I love talking to him. What are my thoughts on the Star Wars Gamer magazines? Whoa, Matthew, I love them. I thought they were great. Ha! Blitz, Raven Blitz, Rave Blitz. Do you think Maul was just a tool in the hands of a lesser villain in the Filoni Clone Wars? Yeah, a lesser villain? No, I don't think so. I see where the point you're making there, but all right. I've answered that question. Some of these questions I answered, but they were probably after. It was probably after you asked them. There's not new EU. I'm sorry. There's not new EU. It was new to me. Pardon. I know that thing says found new EU. That means new to me. I'm sorry. Woo! Got everyone so excited about it. What if George Lucas decided to release the original cuts of the trilogy and also acknowledge that her kind went a bit too far with the edits and how would the public and Disney react to it? Well, George can't release the original cuts. It'd have to be, they're tied up with, holy cow, 21st Century Fox, which they bought. Oh, we're going to see some, holy cow. I never thought about that. They bought Fox, right? They bought all the media stuff. Fox had the distribution rights to Star Wars, which is why you can't see the original cuts. Those are coming out. The original movies are coming out 2019 or 2020. Wow. Now, I didn't think about this. I don't watch the Versus series. I do know about those guys, though. I've seen some of their stuff. It's good. I don't have any thoughts on the Star Wars Battlefront 2. Again, Isaac, I'm sorry. I don't play the video games that much. Noise Marines rule. The Obi-Wan story I'm talking about, I think it's called The Life and Times of Obi-Wan. It's a young adult book written by who did I just say? I just said his name. I can't. Ryder Wenham. Goodness gracious, in the word. He's an awesome guy too. But it's good. It's just that it grabs a bunch of other stories and puts them into one. Don't have any thoughts on Jedi Outcast. Sorry, guys. Which is scarier, Rancor or Stampede of Blurgs? Probably the Blurgs. No, Rancor really scare me, but Blurgs are ugh. Marines rule. I agree with you about the Ewok seasons 1 and 2. 2 was watered down a lot. Oh, Dylan, his cover video is gone too? No! I didn't know that. I didn't review Endgame. Why not? Does it take place later? I'll have to look. I'll have to look at that. That's weird. I thought I did. Maybe Endgame is later. All right. Well, I'll go back. I'll go back and do it. Hold on. Let me make a note. Evasive action. What's it called? Endgame. Did not do that one. Strange. I guess I meant to save it for later. And what I'll do is if I save stories for later, I won't throw away those notes, but sometimes I don't see that and I throw it away and then I don't cover it. I thought I'd gotten better at doing that, but obviously not. Sure, Raven, because I don't know what those, I don't know what Duel of the Fates and Battle of Theed are, but if they're just rehashes of episode 1, I'm good. I wish all the Droids and Ewoks cartoons were on DVD too. I think that'd be awesome. Whoa, 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 what happened? I thought I was at the bottom. And you guys have been posting stuff. Wow, I was like, wow, I did this. No one else has been saying anything. Holy cow. All right. The missus isn't here. I'll give you 6 more minutes. Oh my goodness. I'm not even halfway through. Wow. Here I thought I was because it didn't upload until I hit the bottom. Wow. Okay. Matt, do you think the Return of the Clone Wars, what do you think of Return the Clone Wars, even though you don't like it as much as a step in the right direction to bringing back Legends? Again, I talk about this in my podcast. I hate to keep plugging the podcast, but I don't have as much time to answer. That's a pretty loaded question, and we break it down on that podcast, August 25th. That's a long time to wait. That's the end of the month. That's just because I am truly, August is a truly busy month for me. It always has been. Dak Dylan says Fantasy Flight just announced a bunch of Clone Wars era expansions for their miniatures game. Do you think that being announced only a few weeks after the Clone Wars revival is a coincidence? That is strange. That is strange. That'd be a strange coincidence. But it's got to be, right? Surely they didn't know. That's strange, though. Thoughts on the Harry Potter movies? You know, watching them again, they're shot beautifully. It makes me want to read the books, but they're nothing compared to the books. And I hate how Harry Potter should have been a TV show, because those kids, if you watch it back to back, holy cow, Harry Potter goes from being this tall to this tall. He's shaving in the third movie because he's 18. He's not 14 or 13, whatever old he's supposed to be. It's ridiculous. They had to, and I mean, that's just how movies are made. Every 2 years, they can produce the movie and get it out. But holy cow, those kids grew up too fast. And they're so old as the movies go on and on. So I wish they would have done it as a TV show, and then they could have put everything in the books. Because I don't like things deviating from the books. That's why I hate the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Watch that fire up the conversation now. Nose Marine, that's a good point. People bash the EU from what they've heard from their friends or read on little articles, or maybe on Wikipedia. I even doubt they've been on Wikipedia that much. But yeah, they don't know the old canon. That's why I had to start making the videos. Would I read an Incredibles comic series? Not really, even though I did enjoy Incredibles 2 more than I thought I would. I still think that movie came out 10 years too late. I mean, my interest isn't as high on the Incredibles as it used to be, but it was a good movie. Do people over worship George Lucas? Eesh. Nowadays, no. Back in the day, yes. Is he worthy of it? He created it. It's his imagination, but he did do a lot of damaging things to it too, I think. Meaning the prequels. He could have done a better job. Have I read? No, haven't read any of those. I don't even know what those Titus, Livy, Herodotus, or Tact. Oh, no, I haven't. Interesting, Agent Grady. Have you? Kate Skywalker versus Darth Bane. Who wins? Cade. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Cade. Let's see. For people who say I can't believe no one likes the new canon, actually, there are, from what I've heard, there are some good, decent canon books. Among the Stars, the Timothy Zahn's Thrawn. People do like it, and these are people who I believe that they're very fair, like Geek Addict and my friend Bruce like it. So there are some. I'm sure there's some decent stuff in there. My buddy also liked Tarkin too. Now he'll be honest, he hasn't liked many of the books, but there's a few that he really does like. Woo, Evangeline. Hey, man, is it just me or people treating Filoni as a deity? Yes. He should be the ruler of Lucasfilm. They're never going to give it to him. He doesn't have anything on his resume that gives him any business to be running a company like Lucasfilm. He does pander to the fans. He does a good job feeding the fans stuff. You almost got me ranting on Filoni, but yeah, he's, they do in a way. Do I like Galaxy Quest? Yeah, it's a fun movie. Dylan. Okay, one more, then I'm gone. An hour and a half you got from me today. Dylan, I hate you so much. Dylan says, new promotion for the Mets. First 9 people in the ballpark tomorrow get to be in the starting lineup. Screw you, Dylan. Which is the worst? Which is in worse state, Star Wars or Star Trek? Ah, all right. He gets the last question. It's a toss-up. And I'm not saying Star Trek's a disaster, but I am watching Discovery, and I've only watched 3 episodes. Do people really like Discovery? I mean, I haven't seen it all, so I'm gonna hold my opinion to when I watch it all. But right now, I'm like, okay, it doesn't feel like Star Trek. It doesn't look like Star Trek. It doesn't sound like Star Trek. Sounds like I'm watching some generic sci-fi show. But that's only after 3 episodes. It could possibly get better. All right, folks, that's it. That's all the time I have. Thank you so much. I got to skedaddle. I will talk to you later, guys. As always, it's been a lot of fun. You're getting a board game review, I think, tomorrow, and then we're going to review, what is it? Some web strips. Rookies. Holy cow. Is that evasive action in game? I don't know. We'll see. Bye.